For buy something too good to be true and know deep down you're screwing yourself, but you do it anyway. That's what happened to me. My name's Caleb Ray, and I bought a cabin in Kentucky for less than I used to pay for rent in a city I don't even want to remember anymore. That's less than I paid for a year's rent in Chicago. Less than some people spend on a used car. And after 2 years of sleeping on couches, working dead-end gigs, and feeling like the city was slowly crushing me, that it might as well have been a lifeline. The realtor, if you could even call her that, was a chain-smoking woman named Darla. She handed me the keys outside a gas station, took my cash, and said, "Ain't no refunds." I should have asked why. First, impressions. The cabin sat at the end of a winding dirt road, so overgrown it looked like the trees were trying to swallow it whole. Tall pines crowded in, their branches scraping the truck's roof as I crept forward. When I finally saw the place, my stomach dropped. It needed to be repaired. The roof dipped in the middle like something heavy had been sitting on it for decades. And the porch. Christ, the porch was warped. The wood split in lines that formed shapes. But I was broke, and proud, and stupid. So I unlocked the door. The silence. The inside was worse. Dust floated in the stale air, so thick I could taste it. And the silence, God, the silence wasn't right. No birds outside, no wind. Just this heavy, suffocating quiet that made my ears ring. I dropped my bag on the kitchen counter and froze. Something had been here. Recently. The sink was full of murky water, like someone had just washed their hands. A single chair was pulled out from the table, the seat cushion dented. And on the stove, a cold cast iron skillet, the grease inside still wet. "Hello?" My voice echoed back at me, hollow. No answer. I told myself the last owner must have left in a hurry. Maybe squatters had been here. Anything but the truth. And the weird thing straighting from the first night. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Around midnight, the whispers started. At first, I thought it was the wind, a low, rasping murmur that seeped through the walls. But then I heard words. Fragments. Get out, and she's here. And something else. Something guttural that didn't sound human. I sat up, gripping my hunting knife. That's when I saw a glimpse, just for a second. A girl, maybe 8 or 9, in a tattered white nightgown, standing at the end of the hallway. Her head was bowed, long hair covering her face. And she was crying. Not loud. Just this awful, broken sound. My blood turned to ice. "Hey," I croaked. She didn't move, didn't react, just kept weeping. Then, slow as a nightmare, she raised one pale hand and pointed at me. I blinked. She was gone. The next morning, I drove into town, shaking so bad. The locals took one look at me at my truck with its cabin road dirt still on the tires and shut down. "Where you staying?" the gas station clerk asked, her voice tight. I told her. Her face went gray. She didn't speak again. Just took my money and turned her back. At the diner, an old man in overalls slid into my booth uninvited. Lester. Smelled like whiskey and wood smoke. "You're the fool bought the place," he said. Not a question. I nodded. He lit a cigarette and said, "Ain't no good ever came from that land. This is a cursed place." According to him, the cabin was built in 1893 by a family called the Montgomerys. Isolated. Strange. People said they practiced old ways, rituals, sacrifices, things that didn't belong in the daylight. Then, one winter, the whole family vanished. No signs of struggle. No bodies. Just gone. Except the youngest daughter. "Little Mary Beth," the guy muttered. Folks saw her in the window for days after. Just standing there, crying. Then one morning, poof, Gone like the rest. He stubbed out his cigarette. Place stood empty for years. Then folks started buying it. Cheap, like you did. They never stayed long. Why? I asked. Because the Montgomerys didn't leave. They're still there, and they don't like visitors. Back at the cabin, I tore the peeling wallpaper off the bedroom walls and found the symbols, carved deep into the wood, stained brown with something old and flaking. Circles within circles, twisted runes, words in no language I'd ever seen. The moment my fingers brushed them, the room dropped 20 degrees. My breath fogged, and from somewhere deep in the house, a laugh echoed low, wet, and hungry. That's when I knew I wasn't alone. And that's the final night in that cursed cabin. She came back. Mary Beth, but not as a girl. Her face was wrong, stretched, melted, her mouth a gaping hole filled with shadows. Her fingers curled like claws, nails black and cracked. God, her eyes. Pits, endless, swirling with something that wasn't human. She stood at the foot of my bed, her breath rattling like dead leaves. I ran, left everything, my clothes, my tools, my damn sanity, and ran. The truck started on the first try, a miracle, or maybe she let me go. I didn't stop driving until I hit state lines. Now, it's been 5 years now, and I still wake up choking on my own screams. I sold that cabin. Took a loss just to be rid of it. Someone from Louisville bought it. But what I think now, I should have burned that place to the ground. I still wake up some nights with the smell of wet pine and gunpowder in my nostrils. 3 years. That's how long it's been since Marcus and I nearly died in those Colorado mountains. People tell me I should be over it by now, that I should have moved on. But they weren't there. They didn't see what we saw. Let me tell you exactly what happened. It was Friday afternoon. The second day of our hiking, everything turned on us. The weather? I don't know how to explain it. It was calm in the morning, just a light breeze, perfect for walking. By noon, the clouds had rolled in like some kind of army, thick and dark, and then the sky broke open, and the rain came down so hard I couldn't even hear myself think. I could barely hear Marcus shouting over the storm. We tried to shelter under a rocky outcrop, but it didn't do a damn thing to protect us. We couldn't keep the tent from flying away. It was just gone. The wind tore it apart like it was nothing. I watched as the rain ripped through our gear, soaked our bags, turned everything into a soggy mess. We should have turned back then, but I guess that's what stupid people do. They keep pushing forward when every sign tells them to stop. Hours passed like that, soaked to the bone and pissed off. We were cold, hungry, tired, and stuck. But then, through the trees, I saw something that wasn't supposed to be there, a shelter. A small, beat-up wooden cabin sitting there in the middle of the damn forest, like it had just appeared out of nowhere. We weren't sure if it was a hunter's cabin or some abandoned relic, but at that point, I didn't care. We could have ended up in a bear's den for all I knew, but that shack looked like salvation. We trudged through the mud, getting closer. I was so damn relieved, I almost forgot about the storm. When we finally reached it, I didn't even hesitate, just shoved the door open and walked right in. Marcus was close behind me. It was warm inside, dry at least. We stripped off our wet clothes and just stood there for a minute, trying to catch our breath, trying to figure out what the hell we were gonna do next. The door creaked as the wind howled outside. I didn't know whether it was the storm or something else that set my nerves off. My skin was crawling, and not just because I was wet and cold. Something felt wrong, but maybe it was just the adrenaline from the rain, from surviving that storm. Maybe I was just spooked. Then I heard it. A noise. At first, it was so faint. I thought I imagined it something that sounded like a distant thud, like a tree falling or thunder. But it wasn't thunder. I could feel it, a vibration in the air. Marcus looked at me, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Before I could even respond, the door slammed shut behind us. I turned and there they were. Two men, standing in the doorway like they had just been waiting for us. No introductions. No. "Hey, glad you found our little hideaway." Just two guys with rifles slung over their shoulders, wearing the kind of look that told me they weren't here to exchange pleasantries. "Get down," one of them growled. His voice was deep, low, rough like gravel. It sent a chill through me, and I swear my heart stopped for a second. I froze. I don't know what the hell happened in my brain, fight or flight, right? But for a second, I couldn't move. I just stared at them, trying to read them, trying to figure out if this was some kind of joke. But they didn't laugh. They didn't do anything except stand there, staring us down with eyes that said they'd seen more shit than they cared to remember. Marcus, of course, was the one who reacted. Always the reckless one. The one who thought it was smarter to act than to think. He shot a glance at me, his eyes wide, and before I could even blink, he bolted. He ran like a man possessed, not looking back, not caring what happened. And that's when my instincts kicked in. I didn't think. I just ran. I didn't even know what was happening, but I sure as hell wasn't staying there to find out. Gunfire rang out behind us. It was so damn close I could feel the wind from the bullets, like they were grazing my skin. The sound of it sharp, deafening. It didn't make sense. It couldn't. But it was real, and we were running for our lives, not daring to look behind us. We didn't stop, didn't look back, just kept running, our lungs burning, our legs giving out, but we couldn't stop. It didn't matter how much we were hurting. It didn't matter how bad the rain was, how lost we were. We just had to keep moving. We ran for hours, but when we stopped, our gear was gone. We had nothing left. Nothing but the clothes on our backs and the thumping in our chests. We didn't even know where the hell we were. I couldn't think. My mind was racing too fast, a blur of adrenaline and terror. But we had no choice. We couldn't go back. We couldn't go anywhere, not like that. So we kept moving. The night was a nightmare. Hungry, exposed, cold. We didn't have shit to protect ourselves with. No fire, no food, nothing. The forest was alive with sounds wild, strange noises, the wind howling like it was trying to tear us apart. We couldn't sleep, not with the fear of those men in the back of our minds. They were still out there, and I had no idea what the hell they wanted, but I sure as hell didn't want to find out. By morning, we had found a ranger station. I don't know how the hell we managed it. We were barely hanging on, exhausted and half crazy from lack of sleep. But we made it. We reported everything, the whole damn thing. They sent a team to check it out, but when they got there, the shelter was empty. Nothing. No sign of the men. We were both too shaken, too uncertain. What the hell had happened? Were we just two idiots who stumbled into something we shouldn't have? Or had we really encountered something we couldn't understand? I've seen a lot of things in my time, but nothing comes close to what happened in the summer of 1996. I grew up around these mountains, born and bred in a small Appalachian town, and this place always had chilling stories from years. But the disappearance of Kyle Walker, that's a story that still haunts me. Kyle wasn't from around here. He was one of those out-of-town types, some big shot from the city. He'd been in the area a couple of weeks, trying to conquer or some nonsense like that. He was a seasoned hiker. He'd done all the big ones, the Rockies, the Cascades. I don't know what it is about people like him. always looking to prove something they don't need to prove, thinking they're tougher than the land they're walking on. That land out there, it's unforgiving. Doesn't give a damn who you are, where you come from, or how many mountain trails you've conquered. And Kyle found that out the hard way. I don't remember exactly when I got the call, when the sheriff showed up. Said Kyle Walker was overdue. His family had started panicking, hadn't heard a word from him in over 2 days. They called the sheriff's department, and that's when they called in the search and rescue team. Now, I've been a volunteer for years. Can't tell you how many times I've been out in those woods looking for lost hikers, or worse, bodies. But this one felt different. When I showed up at the rally point, I could see it in the eyes of the others who were gathered there. Something was wrong. We were all here for the same damn reason, but nobody was talking. Everyone was just waiting for orders, like they knew deep down that this wasn't going to be a routine rescue. I sure as hell felt it. We started out the same way we always did. A few teams, all assigned different areas, spreading out in a grid formation. No one was saying much, but you could tell everyone was already thinking the same thing. The man was gone, and it was more than just bad luck. Hell, I could feel it in the air, like the woods themselves were holding their breath. Hours passed. We combed through dense patches of brush, called out for Kyle's name, shouted through the hollers. I kept going. Everyone kept going. We had to do. For Kyle's sake, for his family, we had to find something. But there was nothing. Nothing but the usual smell of pine and wet earth. But later, 2 days of searching the area, we found something. The first thing that struck me was the backpack. It wasn't even on the ground, but high up in a tree. The straps were tangled in the branches, almost like they were stuck. I remember staring at, trying to figure out how the hell it got up there. It didn't make sense. A wind strong enough to do that? Ain't no way. Something wasn't right. We gathered around it, like a damn group of vultures. No one said anything, but I could feel the tension, the fear creeping in. We finally yanked the bag down, and that's when I noticed the bloodstains. Not just a little splatter, either. No, this was the kind of blood you see in war zones, dark, sticky, and fresh. We followed the trail through the underbrush. It led us deeper, past where we'd already searched, and then we found it. Kyle's foot. I'll spare you the details, but I'm sure you can guess. There it was, half buried in the dirt, still in his boot. I remember the sickening weight in my gut. How could this happen? How could someone so prepared, so damn confident in their abilities, end up like this? It didn't make sense. It's this place, the Appalachian woods. It doesn't care about your confidence. We kept moving, the whole team more tense now. But deep down, we knew it wasn't an animal attack. And that's exactly what it felt like, nightmare. But we didn't stop. We couldn't stop. We pushed on until we reached the clearing. Nothing. No signs of Kyle. No more blood. Just the woods, silent as hell, waiting. It was like the ground had swallowed him, like he was never there in the first place. The official report came out days later, as they always do. The sheriff said it was a wild animal, a bear, maybe, that had attacked Kyle. Said he probably ran into it and met his end in the worst way. That's what the locals heard. That's what everyone was told. But what's the truth? We never know exactly. There's something darker out there in those woods, maybe. I don't know what it is. Some say it's just the land itself. Others say it's people, old and forgotten, that roam these hills. But whatever it was, whatever happened to Kyle Walker, it wasn't some damn animal. That's my opinion. We never found Kyle, not even a trace of him. His family never got any closure. They had to live with the knowledge that he just vanished,